What's up? I'm with my good friend Curt from Curt's Polaris. Curt, you got lost on your way from Montana. You're here in Colorado in a beautiful late April day. Tell us about your trip.
It was uneventful. It was nice. I got a lot of time to think about many things because all you do is sit and drive and push forward.
As a fellow business owner, like those quality alone time in the truck, it's not that bad.
No, it's fantastic because there's a million things. I got notes everywhere in the truck about things that I forgot to do or should do and I need to do and etc. So when I get back, I'll have 2 or 3 days of lots of stuff to do.
Cool. Well, speaking about notes, you came here for a specific reason. We've worked with you guys in the past on a bunch of stuff. Obviously, gear down kits, gear up kits now for boost, a bunch of clutching stuff in the past. And, you know, with the evolution of how awesome the new sleds are, there's a lot of progression, right? And so one of the things that Polaris has done with both the 9R and the Patriot Boost is they have a new drive clutch in the P22. And this is something that we've had since 2022. And again, you know, the beauty of aftermarket guys such as yourself is, you know, and it's getting harder to make the stock stuff better. But you know, that is the job of the aftermarket, right? Is to take the quality products that the OEMs put out and see what we can do to make them better. So talk to me a little bit about why you're here and what your thoughts and thinking of this product that you have for the P22.
Well, with the P22, when it first come out, you know, we were all uncertain of what it was, and I had high hopes for it because basically it's the same clutch as what come in the Razors, and it eliminated a ton of the Razor issues in those with the clutching and the belts and everything. So I had high hopes in it, and it is okay. But the bottom line is that with new product also comes new little gremlins that surface everywhere. And I rode it for about 2 months, and I was like, the belt, for me, the belt temperatures were just too much. And when the belts get hot, they get glazed, and then they start to slip, and then we start to create more heat, and it's amazing that these things, I mean, the new belts on these and everything are so incredible because they will stand a ton, but in the process, you also keep glazing the belt, and it makes it so that your performance gets less and less and less. And I love the tree ride, so when you're in the trees, it just always wants to slip, and it's always glazing the clutches, and that's all from heat. So I literally, you know, it took me the first year of riding it to understand, you know, there's something I needed to do here. And when I looked at the P22, the center of the P22 that the belt drives around is a lot bigger than a P85. So in that, I was like, we have to figure out how to gear that down so that we can have a smaller surface for the belt to drive around in the primary clutch, so that we can take and gear the machine down so it's biting onto the clutches. The belt is a lot sooner than later, so that we were hooked up to the belt and the clutch at a lower speed, so therefore we're not taking and creating more slippage. It hooks up faster.
So basically what you're saying is with the internal of the P22, with it being bigger around, it's essentially like you're starting in a higher gear versus like the P85. Is
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
P85 starts a lot smaller, and so we tried to do that same thing.
And again, with, you know, you guys can, this is how when, you know, Curt was talking to me about this product and how it related to kind of like what he was talking about with the tree riding side of things is it does this. When you're starting out in second gear, the sled is still fine, right? But what happens is it's essentially slipping or glazing that belt. And you guys have seen, I've done a couple of videos on when, like Curt said, the belts no longer explode. Okay, what happens is they get glazed, and you see these heat cracks on the surface of the belt, which then you lose grip on the clutch, and then you lose performance. So, so let's go to, okay, so you see this, you know, potential issue that you're seeing with belt heat and with the P22. Now, what was your first step in trying to help make this problem go away?
Well, we tore the clutch apart to see what we could do because of the roller bearing on there is much bigger. And as soon as I started pulling stuff apart, I was like, man, it looks like we could put a speedy sleeve on this and drop the size of that down and go back to putting a belt tensioner bolt in the secondary. So now with the P22, you never had to do that because the belt was always adjusted proper. So in putting the delete kit on there for the roller bearing, it takes and it makes it so that you have to adjust the belt again. But it let us bring that all the way down. So it took and started out in a lower gear. And what we found when we started playing with all this and working on it, et cetera, is that the temperatures went away in the belt and the performance got better on the bottom end, and it was a positive thing. So that's, we literally spent 3 years in 22, 23, and 24 getting that thing dialed in perfect. And we finally got it to where I'm comfortable about putting it on the market because we just don't have issues with them, and it takes care of the problem.
Cool. So let's rewind. You talked a couple words. You said speedy ring. You said roller bearing. So again, for those of you guys who don't know, for all 9R and boost guys, there's like the Razor clutch, there's a bearing inside the clutch that the belt rides on, so you don't essentially have to do belt deflection anymore.
Correct.
And so this sleeve replaces the bearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It replaces the bearing, and it's smaller, so it slides right over the shaft down where the belt rides on the shaft that comes off the PTO.
Okay.
And it just makes it smaller, and I called it a speedy sleeve because it's a lot smaller and it slides right over the shaft, so that everything still works exactly the way it should. It's just that it lets it gear it down more on the bottom end. So you're taking off in first gear instead of second gear.
Would you say the circumference of that speedy sleeve is now the same diameter essentially as a P85?
It's within 1/8 of an inch of what a P85 is.
Okay, so
and a P22 is almost 1/4 of an inch bigger. So if you take 1/4 of an inch and add it to that all the way around, that's literally taken off in a higher gear, which is not helping our heat problems in the clutches and the belts.
Sure. Okay, so talk to me about the components of the kit. There's you have a couple things. You've had two products essentially. You had the bearing delete, which would again replace the bearing with the speedy sleeve, but now you actually have another piece that you can actually lighten the P22 clutch up with, and it also serves a couple other purposes. Tell us about that.
So on the P85, it's got one shaft that comes all the way out, and your spider screws onto it, and then there's a locking collar, and so that makes that all one piece, so that you aren't having all the pressure on the clutch bolt. The clutch bolt is only to do one thing on a P85, and that's hold the clutch on. In the P22, that is a two-piece system, and so what happens is that the spider comes on with splines, and then this collar fits on top of it, and now the clutch bolt has to hold everything together plus hold the clutch on the sled, and it's pushing all the weights, all the force, everything that's going against it is going against that clutch. So we come out with a locking collar, which is right down here.
Okay.
And it now screws inside to the inside of the clutch where the clutch puller would screw into, and so we can stick that in there and screw that in and lock it down. So now that collar, that locking collar, now takes and holds the spider and the removable sheave tight, so it acts like it's one piece, so we don't have to worry about the clutch bolt having to do 2 or 3 jobs. The clutch bolt is back to doing one thing, just holding the clutch on the sled.
Got it. So basically, this is, again, I'm not the technical guy. I'm the guy who goes and rides the snowmobile. And, for the amount of time that I've got to spend on this product, I've been riding it on a boost, and then today on your 9R. Here are the things that I feel. And this was something that I think that the consumer will have from that seat of the pants feel is that more one-to-one feel on the bottom end. So not having that clutch slipping. And it's funny, you didn't realize the clutch was slipping until you rode something that wasn't slipping, right? Yeah. So that was something that I felt right away, was that, oh wow, that from engagement to whatever, that initial shift felt a lot more positive and strong. So that's what I felt. And then I'm a big lightweight rotating guy. That's you guys all know that. Anytime you can take any sort of lightweight rotating away, especially like on something like this, you're going to notice that throttle response. Talk to us a little bit about, from a weight saving standpoint, what you can expect to see.
Well, on this, the P22 clutch is a very, very good clutch. that's the reason I started monkeying with it, because
A lot of guys were trying to go back to a P85.
yeah, and
right?
we sold a lot of P85s to guys, and we're still selling P85s to guys because it's lighter and in the rotating mass, and it doesn't have some of the same issues and et cetera. But I know from history that Polaris is not probably going to go away from the P22 clutch. So I wanted to keep working on it, and the reason being is because, believe it or not, the P22 clutch is lighter than the P85 in the stock form.
It is.
And so I'm like, okay, if I can pull the guts out of that, the roller bearing and all the rest, and we stick our stuff back in it, it even gets lighter. So now the P22 has bigger rollers, bigger bushings in the clutch, in the weight pins. Everything about the P22 is heavier, stronger, better, and it's less mass than the P85 is. So that's why I put so much effort into it, because they built us a good clutch. I just felt I needed for myself to do something a little different to get rid of the heat, and that's what I've tried to do.
Perfect. So your initial agenda was to essentially get rid of the heat, get rid of the slippage, get more of that kind of one-to-one feel off the bottom. And I think what's most important here too is, you know, when we talk about to your point, the P22 has some really key components from like a longevity standpoint, right? With the bigger rollers, it's got some cool features, and it sounds like you basically were just building off of, you know, what Polaris had intentions for on the P22 with this new kit.
That's correct. The P22 had so many good features on it that I didn't want to walk away from those features. I wanted to take them features and just try to make them better than it was before.
Well, and from a cost standpoint too, right? Like the last thing, you know, and this is something that I stress to all of you guys, you know, is that it's a lot easier to make your sled worse than it is to make it better. When you go buy your snowmobile, it's not like you have to go put a bunch of money into them anymore. They're really damn good from the factory. And so again, you know, Curt, I think the beauty of what you're bringing here is that, you know, basically you're trying to make a good product even better, right?
Correct. Yep, because the sleds, you know, literally anymore, if a sled won't do something, it's probably not the sled's fault. it's the rider's fault.
You've never heard me say that before, have you?
It's just a fact, and I'm just trying to make it one step better, so that when I go out and ride, I'm probably no different than Chris in that category. I want it to work the way I want it to work, so it works for my personality and et cetera. Now I'm getting older, and I can't hardly keep up with these things anymore. But I still think I'd like to try, and I know what the sled's supposed to run like to do that. So I'm the weak link anymore in these babies, because they're good.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. It's really just maximizing what the capabilities of these stock snowmobiles are, because they are really amazing. So, okay, well that I think that is a good way and a good rundown of the product. Let's talk about price. What does this cost on, like, if you have a new clutch? What does this cost if you have an older sled and you want to upgrade? Talk to us a little bit about those services.
Well, we have some different things that we can do out there. We can stick just a locking collar on your P22 and you can keep your roller bearing, or we can take and put a delete kit in it and do that complete kit as them two as one kit, and that's going to run you ballpark of around $500 plus the labor of sticking it in there. Or you can take, and if you have a new sled and you want to take and have your clutches balanced with all the new stuff stuck in it, you're probably going to be a little over $1,000 balanced. Or if you have I take that back, it'll be a little less than $1,000 because it's new, so we don't have to do much with it. But if you send us your clutches off of your 9R or your Boost and they're used, we're not going to just take and clean them and balance them.
I would assume
we're going to make sure that that everything is proper in there and rebuild it. And so that kit would be, because it takes more time and effort, it's going to be a little over $1,000 to do all that, and plus whatever parts we stick in it to make it so that it's new again. So literally, if you stop and think about it, you can have your clutches balanced with these upgrades done to the P22 so that it really truly is as good as a P85 that'll last much longer for less money. Because by the time you buy a P85 and you put all the stuff in it and you do everything else, you're way more money than what it's going to cost to do this.
Sure. Well, awesome. I hope that answers some questions, guys. I know you know, Curt has been kind of at the forefront of a lot of things. You know, you guys see me running his gear down and gear up kits. We've been running that for a long time. I think this is a really innovative product that is going to, in my opinion, really give those people who are looking for the utmost performance. I mean, it is a very noticeable difference, and then you pair that with the balancing of the clutches, and it's a win-win combo.
It's a win-win.